So most is here with w.a.production. Now, it can sometimes be a real struggle to go from loop to whole song. So in this video we're going to be going from this to this.
What about making your sound better?
In this video, we're not going to be looking so much at how to finish a song or how to get a song to a point that it's ready for release. This video is more about taking a loop that you have maybe in your projects folder and turning it into a song that you can actually do something with and actually get it to the next stage of the production journey. I find that so often, so many loops get wasted or lost just because of a few simple kind of production errors that we make or might not think to do. So in this video we're going to be looking at 4 areas which I think can really take a song from being a loop to a almost fully fledged production. And these are organisation, presence, spatial effects, and just some workflow stuff with separating the mix stage from the production stage and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to dive into the project and take a look at these areas and how we can use them to really maximise the loops that we have in our folders. So as with anything in life, sometimes organisation can really be the key thing to help us excel and get our songs to the next level. So we'll take a look at this Ableton project. Now, just looking at it on the surface, we can already see that the tracks are all different colours, the arrangement isn't really organised properly. You can see that the kick channel is here, and this just kind of creates quite a few problems. For example, if you're trying to look for the loop or the bass line that you know you want to put an effect on but you can't find it, it can really slow down the creativity, which can just kill the vibe when you're in the studio. So really, the first thing that I would do when I'm starting to think about my loops or my projects is to take a project like this and turn it into this. So now you can see that all of our drums are in the same colour and ordered from the kind of kick all the way up to the top loops. We then have our bass and our synth chords. Now, you might not think it's a very big step or a very important part of the process with all of this stuff. However, I can assure you that it really does help massively to do this kind of stuff. Rather than guessing where something is, you can immediately just dive into this synth here, and you know that you can just get to work with editing it and doing all the necessary things you might want to do. Now, once you've done the colour coding, it's time to group the tracks. Now, grouping can help in 2 things. One, it can just tidy up a project and again help you with your order. But secondly, it can also help you kind of with routing stuff through buses and creating cohesive whole sounds out of your bass, your drums, or your synths, or vocals, or whatever else you have in your project. And now we can see that everything is grouped in the project, and with Ableton, when you group stuff, it routes it to the folder, so you already take care of any bussing that you might want to do. And you can see now that it's just a very cohesive project, and if we want to go into a folder to find stuff we can, and it's all very simple. Another thing that I think relates to organisation is time aligning and making sure that all of your instruments are playing in perfect synchronisation with each other. Sometimes you can have transients that don't quite hit on kicks and guitars that are out of time. Now, this project is mainly an electronic project, so it doesn't really matter, but something to really think about if you are recording live instruments is actually just to put them in time. It's a bit of a funny concept, but it really does work and it really does help. Now, all of this organisation stuff is kind of boring, and we don't want to sit there just colour coding tracks while we've got people in the studio who are trying to capture a vibe. So this is why I think it's really important to have a solid template. Now, you can get some templates from our website if you just head over to w.a.production.com, or you can also just create your own. And I feel like if you create your own, you can kind of really get a balance of what you might want to use, so you've got your tools available to you at a moment's notice to be able to make amazing songs. Now, next we're going to be taking a look at adding some presence to sounds, because I think that presence can really help accelerate a song into the final stages. So let's take a look at that now. So I think it's really important to not be afraid of high frequencies and brightness. One of the most common things I see when we produce is that we sometimes dull our music over time, and this happens very naturally just because when we're intensely listening to a song over 8 or 10 hours potentially, the high frequencies can become slightly brittle and annoying, so we'll dial them down. However, it's the number one thing whenever I mix for other people is that I see that the songs just don't have the brightness in any of the tracks. So really, again, just don't be afraid to add presence. So for this demo, we've got Pro Q3 running on our drums, and we'll just see what happens when we just add in the Pro Q3 and just how it livens up the whole thing. So this is it without it. And now I have Pro Q3 running in a dynamic mode, just accenting some of the bass and also adding a lot of top end. And you can really hear that when you turn it on, suddenly the drums become a little bit more alive. They've just got a little bit more kind of energy to them that they didn't have before. Now, obviously if you're adding a ton of high frequency content onto something, you don't want to go too overboard. So use your ears and be wise with it. But it's just something that I've found personally has taken my productions to another level, is actually just adding some high frequencies. And I know it sounds ridiculous, and I know it sounds really simple, because you'd think, well, of course you want to add high frequencies to something, it makes sense to do that. But it really is something that we can forget about when we're in deep into a production session. So just adding a little bit of EQ here and there, and also some saturation. So on the drum channel as well, I have an audio effect rack, and I've just split it up into high and low bands and dry, and I've added in w.a.production Saturus, which is a new saturation unit by us. Again, this is available on our website, and definitely recommend going and checking it out if you want some kind of beefed up, amped up, nasty saturation and distortion. So again, it's not running at the moment. So you can see that there are two really minimal effects that really just add a whole lot to those drums, and we haven't had to do much. We haven't had to change many of the dynamics, we haven't had to alter our samples, we've just brought to life what was already there. So another area that we can really see this coming into play is with the bass. Now I'll just put a Fab Filter Saturn 2 on, and we'll just demo the bass quickly with it off, and then we'll turn it on again. And now we'll play it in with the whole mix. You can see that just by adding that high frequency content, it just brings it forward in the mix and makes it really present to us. Now again, I know that this is some really simple and basic kind of stuff, but I find that it really does help just to push your loops and your early stages of production across the line into actually feeling like a song. Like I said, whenever I do mixing for people, it's the most common downfall with everyone's songs, and a lot of time you might pay a mix engineer sometimes $1,000 just to do a job, and all they're doing is just putting an EQ high shelf on it, and kind of that's it really. Now something else that we want to be careful of, and that I've mentioned in previous videos, is our use of reverb and spatial effects. Now, used without a plan, these can really muddy a mix and create a lack of focus in our songs, which can deter us from wanting to finish a song because something just doesn't feel like it's gluing or it's fitting right. The other day I was mixing a song and we just couldn't quite nail what was wrong with the song, and it turned out that actually there was just way too much reverb across the whole thing. So by toning it down or using it intelligently with returns and sends can really help us gain some clarity in our production, and again take us to the next stage of getting away from a loop and into a fully fledged production. So you can see here that I've got the synth group soloed, and this is what it sounds like just playing by itself. And if we look at the channels, you can see that there is delay on all of the things, mostly turned up to 100% wet, and if not 50, which is one of the criminal sins that you can do with spatial effects, as well as just a whole host of kind of, not much reverb on any of the channels. So we'll open up a later project to see how we can intelligently do away with having this kind of stuff going on in our channels. So now that we've got the project open that has a bit more thought behind how we're going to use the delays and the reverbs, let's take a look at how to kind of get it sounding a bit more cohesive and together. it's actually doing an effect where it's kind of going into the drop. However, with this one as well, we can leave the automation on the delays, but I've just taken some of the delay off here and just added it over to here. So we'll just turn this off and add it over there, along with a bit of reverb, and we'll do the same here. Just make sure that there's no delays anywhere and send it all to the B return. And you can see there that there was too much reverb applied, and we can just now back it off rather than having to go into the track and look for it and then lose the sound that we've created. So again, a really simple tip, but something that can really help just take you onwards from having a kind of awful 8-bar loop that you're not happy with to something that you're actually kind of pleased with, until you get the existential dread that every producer gets and you hate the music again. So this last point is really more of a theory workflow thing rather than an actual exercise that we're going to do. Now, you've probably heard before about people talking about breaking up the stages of production so we don't get bogged down. And this is a great tip. You know, rather than trying to EQ everything, put everything into a space perfectly while you're producing, sometimes it's best just to crack on with the production and worry about the nitty-gritty stuff later. However, in this video, like we said, we wanted some kind of color coding and grouping to be taking place, which again falls back into a template. But if you combine a template and breaking up the stages of production, mixing, and potentially mastering, however some people can master and mix at the same time nowadays, it will definitely be a massive benefit in your productions. I know it really helped me, and at first it feels a bit backwards because you're like, well, why am I going to be wasting time jumping from production to mix when, what if I want to make a change? But that's one of the points of why we want to split it up. It's so that when we get into the mixing stage, we are simply putting a mixing hat on and not thinking about how we can change the cutoff of a synth, or how maybe adding a riser to the section might really help it. So I hope that you found this video useful, and I hope that it's given you some actionable points to go and put onto some of your 8-bar loops and hopefully get them out of the depths of your folder and into the potential realms of being released and being a fully fledged track. If you like this video, make sure to drop a comment, hit the like button, and make sure you're subscribed for more content from us. Until the next one, peace out.